in an initiation like we're going through, where we're really just being asked to change roles and to not let our ego think it's in control of everything, and let our spirit and our soul shine more in the world and guide us, which is what was intended for us when we came in, not to have society and the collective guide us, but our own soul and our own spirit guide us.
Welcome to Don't Step on the Bluebells, the podcast where personal healing and transformation take center stage. I'm your host, Amanda Parker, and I'm a fellow seeker on the journey of personal growth. Join me as I delve into the stories of gifted healers, guides, and everyday people who have experienced remarkable transformations. Listen in as they share their practical wisdom to enrich your everyday life. And don't forget to hit subscribe and never miss a new episode. Welcome to today's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells, where I'm deeply honored to welcome Sandra Ingerman, a world-renowned teacher of shamanism with over 40 years of experience. Sandra has authored 13 books, including her latest, Walking Through Darkness, co-authored with Lynn Roberts, as well as Soul Retrieval, Medicine for the Earth, and the Book of Ceremony. In our conversation, Sandra shares powerful insights on the enduring relevance of shamanic practices, the importance of community and initiation, and how we can navigate the challenges of the modern world by reconnecting with nature and the creative forces of the universe. You won't want to miss out on Sandra's remarkable wisdom. So let's dive in. I am thrilled to be here with you today. I have a very exciting guest, someone who I'm really, truly honored to welcome onto the podcast. I'm joined here with world-renowned shamanic teacher and elder, Sandra Ingerman. So Sandra has been teaching shamanism for 40 years. I've only recently begun my journey into the world of shamanic practice about a year ago. But a lot of it has been through the incredible books. I know you've had 13 different books you've brought into the world now, and the different courses and teaching and podcasts. It's really such an honor to be here in this space today with you and welcoming you to share your insights and wisdom with us. So thank you so much, Sandra, for being here today.
Thanks, Amanda. It's a pleasure.
So I first came across your work, it was probably about 2 years ago. So I hadn't even heard of the world of Sandra Ingerman before this. A friend had recommended that I just listen to some of the podcasts that you put out in the world. And it was in that moment that I had this connection to what you were saying, to the way that I personally had perceived the world previously. And I thought, I want to be a shamanic practitioner. I want to dive into this world. And I must say that you really played a big role in me choosing to follow this pathway as well. I have right here with me a beautiful book that you have just published called Walking Through Darkness. So for everyone listening, I'm showing the image, but I will be sharing the link to that where you'll be able to get your own copy of it and be able to talk through some of the reasons that the lessons from this book are relevant for our world today.
There's so much to say about that. The book is really about initiation. And what the world is going through today is a really big initiation from a shamanic point of view. So, shamanism dates back over 100,000 years. And the earth is 4.6 billion years old, and the elements are billions of years old. And what practice do we really have today that has survived over 100,000 years? And why has shamanism survived over 100,000 years? The reason is that it's a very result-oriented practice. It's not a practice you just go into and go, oh, that was interesting. It's, did you get the healing? Are you working towards raising your consciousness? How connected are you to the power of the universe? And so the practice kept being changed as the world changed, as the planet evolved. In shamanism, we have the belief that there are volunteer divine spirits that are helping us as earth beings to grow and to expand and to come to a place of really understanding why we were born here. Everything had to work, or the practice would have died. But one of the most important things about the practice that really remained throughout its entire time is community. The spirits came in to help you harmonize with the earth and the land that you lived on, with the trees and the plants and the spirits teaching how to find food and what food was for. It was so important that community members had a strength that they were sharing, giving back to the community. And so at different points in one's life, in different cultures, there might have been an initiatory experience that was life-threatening, really difficult to survive. Being buried, having red ants crawling over you for 3 days, walking through fire, which of course is very popular in the world today. And the ego goes, I can't do this. And the mind goes, I don't know how to do this. And so that's where the opportunity, where our spirit can jump in and say, well, of course, I know how to do this. And so in shamanic cultures, through an initiation, as people got in touch with their spiritual strength, because that was the only way to survive an initiation, they became these powerful members that could add to the survival of the community. So initiations were always about stripping away the ego and allowing the spirit to shine through. And that was for you personally, for your own consciousness, but so that you could be a strong member of the community and not weaken the community, but add to the community. If you look at what's happening in the world today, there's a huge shift in consciousness happening. And it's happening through disaster, through loss, through war, through all the losses, mysterious health issues, the pandemic coming in, everything that came in kind of broke us down. I mean, most people, unless you're part of the dense collective that just kept on going on, and how could I gain more for me? And so the time that we're living in is about, let's look at what's been unhealthy about how we've been living. Let's look at how we don't love ourselves. Let's look at how we broke our connection to the creative forces of the universe, thinking we were it, and how we broke our connection to nature. Nature is what feeds us. We thrive because of our connection to nature. So when you break a connection to nature, I mean, how do you live? And we're seeing that right now with what's happening with climate change. We broke our connection to nature.
Something I'd be really interested to hear from you. You shared a bit with us about what initiations are, and I know that you write about this in the book. And I have to say, in my life, with the clients I see, with friends, with family, a lot of people are experiencing this sense of, for lack of a better word, like a heaviness, a feeling of being really lost and uncertain in the world, not really knowing what their place is. And it's something that feels prevalent over the last, 1, 2, 3 years, maybe even since COVID. And after reading through parts of the book, I started to gain this understanding from your teachings, really, that this could be another way of initiation. So there's elements of what you talked about that maybe in, ancient societies or indigenous cultures, that you would be guided by elders through initiations that would help you
reach spiritual development. But today in our modern world, those might look quite different than what we are used to. Is there anything maybe you can share some wisdom about what exactly does that mean? What is an initiation in that context?
One of the reasons that Lynn and I came together to write the book is exactly what you just shared. Back in not that far, probably a little bit before my generation, and I'm 71, we used to have our own elders. Our grandmothers used to rock us on a rocking chair and start to talk about what to do when times get hard. It was the role of our ancestors to give us a roadmap of how to get through these times. And most of us don't have that. I've been through so many initiations, starting as a really young girl, that I had to learn how to develop a roadmap. What do you do when you don't know what to do and you feel lost? And so that was the reason that Lynn and I came together to even write Walking Through Darkness. This feeling of being lost is because we're being asked to make a huge change. We're being asked to step away from greed. We're being asked to step away from just looking at ourselves. And we're being asked to just step into a higher consciousness. That doesn't mean we don't take care of ourselves. We don't get to experience the joys and the bliss of life and all of that. It just means we have a different way of looking at the world. We move more into a place of compassion for the losses of others. Because we feel so lost, people who do coaching work, who do go into therapy, who do take workshops, who do read motivational books, they're starting to get tools. They're starting to get a roadmap. There's a huge change in consciousness that's actually happening that a lot of people aren't really aware of. And how I see it, to go back to some of what you're saying, I believe, and not everybody believes the same thing as I do, I believe that life is a play and we take on certain roles and we wear certain costumes. And so what I'm watching right now, and this is a metaphor that I wrote about in an upcoming newsletter, is I'm watching the spiritual community doing so much work on themselves that the curtain has dropped. People are going into another room. They're taking off their costumes. They're finding new costumes. What color do I want to wear? What is the texture? What role do I want to be in life? This initiation that started for us a few years ago was to wake us up to life. I mean, we've been living a dead life. We disconnected from nature and we disconnected from ourselves. And people are waking up to, I came here with a passion. But society kept on telling me, my parents kept on telling me, don't smile too much, don't shine too much, you're good at this, you're not good at that, stop dreaming, get a job, be real. And so what happened for most of us who were born as spiritual beings with a destiny to come in and caretake this amazing earth and be part of nature and dance with nature and sing with nature and talk to nature like we used to in the old days and have a strong connection with the creative forces of the universe, that helps us shift into a whole new place when we can say no to what the collective gave us. And when we do our ceremonies to step into our power and let go, I hate this burden, I can't carry this burden anymore, it's really too much for me. We do free up our spirit. We let go of the darkness and we let more light come into our life. The feeling of lostness has to happen because it really is the death of an old way of life. Initiation is a death. of a phase of life that's over, and we have to step into a new phase of life where we understand from a shamanic point of view, from a spiritual point of view, that we were created from so much love from the creative forces of the universe, God, the goddess, whatever words that you use. And that seed of love was planted inside of us so that we're actually a reflection of those great sources. But we've forgotten that. There's the lostness, what we're calling it here in America. I don't know what it's being called in other places, is languishing. Languishing meaning I can't move forward, just want to watch TV, stay in bed, eat what I want. And languishing is sitting down in the dark. In an initiation like we're going through, where we're really just being asked to change roles and to not let our ego think it's in control of everything, and let our spirit and our soul shine more in the world and guide us, which is what was intended for us when we came in, not to have society and the collective guide us, but our own soul and our own spirit guide us. This is such an important time. And the very second shamanic journey I ever had was where spirit, my helping spirit, said to me, whatever happens in your life, don't sit down in the dark. Yes, we all have clients who are feeling lost right now. And so one of the powers of shamanism is ceremony. Shamanic journeying, meeting your spirits, is a ceremony. But we also do ceremonies to let go of our past traumas. We do ceremonies to call in good health, the goodness of life, those dreams that come from our spirit and our soul. We use ceremony to do that. And then ceremony brings us to a place of centeredness and stability so that we don't feel so lost. And so in my roadmap of what I use is, the more lost I feel, I get out of bed and engage in ceremony. I light sage or an incense that makes me remember my connection to spirit. If that's all a person can do, that's great. Or lighting a candle, just reminding oneself that you are light, that you're more than this body. And those really simple things are actually what get us out of feeling lost, those little tiny steps. I used to be a firefighter back in the 70s, a forest firefighter.
Wow.
And yeah, and I am the slowest walker on the planet. And I always have been. My mother was too. I inherited that from her. So here I'd be at these fires and we're carrying all this stuff and we have to get up the mountain and all these guys and women are running and then they have to sit down and take breaks. And I just walked like a turtle and I was always the first one up the mountain. That was a big life lesson for me to watch that day after day. Because what happens when we feel lost and somebody says, okay, what would feel good for you to do? What would feel good for you to do that might make you feel like you can walk forward? What starts to happen is people go, I don't know. I don't have a clue. And then all of a sudden it's, well, I want to move to another country, or I want to become the greatest artist, or, I want this, and it's so big. And so what happens is there's no way to get from point A to point B. I mean, there isn't. The path is just way too crazy. So I tell people, do something small. If you're feeling lost, do something as small as lighting a candle. Do something as small as going outside and putting a rock down on the ground or an herb down on the ground and saying, I'm having a tough time, but I give thanks for my life. That makes you move forward. The second you can get the words out, I give thanks for my life, you've moved forward. This being in lost is a very important period for all of us. It's what brings us to our greatest growth. But the trick is not sitting down in the dark and finding simple ways to keep moving forward.
I think that's going to really resonate for a lot of people who are listening. It seems to be sort of a collective moment in time that there is that uncertainty. I mean, we're all trying to find that ground beneath our feet again. And some people are maybe getting there faster than others, some slower, but there's definitely the sense of wanting so badly for things to change and not knowing how or where to turn. And I think what you touched on, this element of the vision being so big, I can relate to that completely because I always have a dream and something big and exciting I want to work towards. But if I can't get there, I start to feel a bit hopeless or helpless. I don't know how to reach it. I don't know who to ask for help. I don't know where to get that guidance. And it actually perpetuates that cycle a little bit more of feeling stuck or like you don't know what to do.
Right, exactly. I like what you said about we're all on our own journey here, so it's not about rushing anything. I remember, I don't know, 15 years ago, talking to one of my helping spirits and say, so when I die, I'm going to know all the mysteries, aren't I? And he said to me, what makes you think that? Because I kept on saying to him, I want to see the last chapter of the story. I want to stay here to see, this is 10, 15 years ago. I want to see the last chapter of the story. And he said, there is no last chapter of the story. And so then I was going, well, I'll know it when I leave. And he goes, why? You know, it's an ongoing process. Earth is Earth School. We're actually spirit. We have a body, but we're body, mind, and spirit. We came here as Earth School to learn how to be a body. Trees have a body, plants have a body, all the animals around us have a body, everything has a body. And so as humans, what did we come in here to learn? What, as a spirit, if we had no body, if we were back in spirit, we would just be true love on this planet. We would be shining our light so bright to help everybody build and get strong and have food and be successful and have clean air and clean water. We forget. As soon as we come here, we forget. And so we get caught up in the drama of life. And right now, the drama of life is too big for our egos and mind to know how to get through. And so again, I loop back to why we're in an initiation is to show our ego and mind that it doesn't know the truth of how to move forward and how to actually be in service and create a healthy life for yourself and for other people. And so we're literally being stripped. I play a game with my husband, and it's kind of a shedding game. And so we talk about it as a metaphor of life. You know, we're being asked constantly. I feel like every day I take a walk in my arroyo, which is outside. I live in the country, but it's all public land. And so I can take a long walk. And every day I'm walking, I'm feeling myself shedding old beliefs, shedding the feeling of being lost, shedding the feeling of not being good enough, shedding everybody I'm angry at right now. And so as you keep shedding, that polishes your path, it polishes you to be a being that's tapped in to the cosmos and how nature works. And you have the opportunity to connect with nature beings. You have the opportunity to connect with the elements which give us life. And for me, that's been the most healing part of my path, is to reconnect with earth, air, water, the sun, lightning, as living beings who give us so much life, but what do we give them in return? So,
I think a lot of people who are listening are on some kind of spiritual journey, but they might not have gone all in. They're really new. A lot of this language and understanding will be new for many people who are listening. And they might be thinking like, yeah, okay, but she's already done this. Look how far she's come. And they might be wondering, what did that path look like before? How did you actually get to do this kind of work?
I got called in a way that not every listener is going to be called. So it's a bit of a trick question if I'm trying to get hope about how far you can get with that. But I was a strange kid. But what I want to say is we were all strange kids. Weren't you singing to the moon? Weren't you singing to trees? Weren't you talking to birds? We were all little shamans. People come to my workshops and I teach them how to journey. And they say to me, Sandra, I've been doing this my whole entire life. So I bet that most of you listening, although you feel disconnected from the path, that you have been on a spiritual path your whole entire life. And little kids were born shamans. They are taught to forget. Stop making this up. You're crazy. Stop using your imagination. You're going to get into trouble if you keep thinking like this. So we close down. So for me, I got hit by lightning, and I had another event that happened to me when I was a kid. And I don't remember having a big near-death experience and getting wisdom, but I was never the same again either. But I was really good in school and I had a lot of friends. And so I was able to hide my spirituality and my uniqueness, because we're all unique, but in a lot of ways we try to hide it to make us look the same. I had I still have a really big heart. And I just really love people. And people used to stop me on the street when I was 7 years old and start telling me their stories. When I got to about 13, I realized I was suicidally depressed. And I had trauma like everybody did, but not enough to bring me to wanting to kill myself. And so I had to ask myself, why do you think you want to kill yourself? Again, I was pretty precocious on these kinds of things, because at 13, who asked themselves that question? And I realized it was because I was taking on too much pain from other people, which anybody on a spiritual path has to fight that one, work with that one. That's a really big issue of how codependent we can be on a spiritual path and not end up taking care of ourselves. And so it was just my incredible love. And then I had an experience where I was sitting on the couch in my living room, and I was sitting there. I grew up in an immigrant neighborhood, people who had survived the Holocaust, people who came in from Italy who were escaping severe persecution but spoke no English. There was a lot of sadness. There was a lot of suicide where I lived. And so I was sitting on the couch one day and I was saying, everybody's got this wrong. We came here to live a life of joy. And I'm going to devote the rest of my life to trying to teach people that this is what they're here for, to be happy. And so I set that intention at a very early age. And I grew up in the 60s, and so was against the war. We had so many drugs available to us. I did the whole thing. I smoked marijuana every day. I took LSD every day and a variety of other things. And what that did is it woke me up on a lot of different levels. And then I had a near-death experience when I was 19, and I drowned in the ocean Mazatlan and had such an amazing, beautiful experience. What was lacking for me, I was getting so much insight and so much wisdom, but I had no path to practice. I just had information, amazing information and feelings coming through my body from the spiritual awakenings that I was having, but I had no path. I got picked up by the universe and got thrown into my path, where I wasn't looking, but I was going for my master's in counseling psychology, and I found out that there was a course for 2 easy units, and I was working 60 hours a week to put myself through school and taking 16 units a quarter. I heard 2 easy units and I signed up, and it was a class on shamanism, and that was October 1980. So I've been doing this work for 43 years on Halloween. What I say to people is shamanism isn't for everybody, but explore some different paths. Right now, YouTube, the internet, oh my God, what we're being exposed to is unbelievable. And that can get overwhelming. But pick something that seems interesting and see if it really fits your soul. I love doing this. Or do you feel like I should be doing this? I should be a shaman. I don't know what it is, and I'm not sure I want to do it. But I found out about Reiki, or I found this breathing practice, and I really love it. The point of finding a path is not to find a path that's burdensome. It's to find a path that brings you joy. It could be taking a walk for 15 minutes a day. I've had clients who are dying, and I've been able to bring them into a passionate place by just having them walk for 15 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be earth shattering. You don't have to get to where I am. I'm happy where I am with my spiritual practice. I'm an extreme introvert, so I have a lot of issues of I'm really a hermit, and this whole thing brought me to a place that I'm not sure this doesn't fit who I am, but I love my practice. I love it. It brings me strength. It brings me comfort. It brings me wisdom. It gives me the steps of how to move forward. And so for everybody listening, it's about what would do that for you. And it could be simple. It could be a breathing practice that really calms down your nervous system to a point that you do start to get some downloads. And it could be taking walks in nature. Some of what I wrote about in Walking Through Darkness has to do with omens, how the universe is always trying to guide us and help us move forward by giving us omens in life of how the sun comes out when you're thinking about making a decision and shines right on you. Or your favorite animal just kind of flies by as you're making a decision about life, saying yes. Or you meet a person at the bank and you're standing online, and all of a sudden this person turns around and says something to you. And it was actually the answer you needed for your life, and they didn't even know. What happened for me was back in the 1980s, I was getting too many hard lessons from the universe. And I got up and I said, please stop beating my head with a bat. Would you please let me know when I'm getting ready to really go down and make a mistake? And so that was when I opened up to omens, because what I found is every moment of our life, we're being shown omens if we're awake enough. And they send us on the right path. And it brings us to the amazing magic of life. So that's something nobody needs training in. You can all go out and take a walk, hold a question, see if the wind comes up as you're thinking about certain things, see if the clouds part when you're thinking about certain things and the sun shines down on you, or a gentle rain starts to come down on you when you're thinking about certain things. That's a blessing in shamanism, or a dragonfly lands on your shoulder. That stuff, if you start opening up to that, all of a sudden you realize you're not lost. You're part of this great earth community, the web of life, where we're all talking to each other, trying to help each other get through right now.
That's really beautiful, and it just reinforces this message that if you're willing to be open. So it doesn't even mean you have to hold a certain belief system or have the right teacher or the right method. You're just willing to be open to hear messages as they come in and see really what, fits, what resonates. Is this for me? Is this something that's exciting to pursue? Or is this something that doesn't really feel good? And I really love that distinction between the genuine joy and excitement and like should, because we all know that that's a heavy one, that when you take on the shoulds, the boulders start to weigh you down there.
And this is a time, my God, this is a time where we're being asked to let go of the boulders. Um, and think about it. How long do you want to carry these? When is it time to open up to the goodness of life? There is a lot of goodness of life around us. It's just we're letting ourselves take on too much pain around what's going on in the world. And that's not what's being asked of us. It's not even being asked of us. We're doing it because we're choosing to.
I think that's a really difficult thing for people to understand, just the power of choice and that we actually always are at choice. I mean, it's very easy for me in certain situations to pretend like this just happened to me, of course. But no, it's always decisions and actions and things that I'm doing that bring circumstances to my life as well.
Yeah, what we're being asked to understand right now is nothing happens to us, things happen for us. And that's very different. And I know the pushback. Sandra Ingerman is just a channel for the helping spirits. I have an ego too, and I have a pushback around that. But when I do my work, I see, yes, I have to admit, I hated it, but it was for me. It gave me a gift.
That is very uplifting and true, and good to hear that, we all are in this place together here in Earth School. For someone who maybe is just new to learning about this and has heard about shamanism, could you share a story or an example of something that was possible through the magic of your work with shamanism that helps paint that picture of what's actually possible through this beautiful work?
Shamanism dates back over 100,000 years, and it's still here because of its results. And so there's really key diagnoses in shamanism. It's the spirits who do the work. It's the spirits who diagnose. It's the spirits who do the healing. But there's a possibility that we lost a piece of our soul through trauma. And I wrote a very popular book about that in the 1980s, Soul Retrieval, Mending the Fragment Itself. It's seen around the world that one of the greatest causes of illness is the loss of the soul, what we lose through any kind of trauma, any kind of shock. I could go on, but we don't have time around that. For me, when I first taught my first person how to do, a student had to do soul retrieval, and she did one on me, it cured my wanting to commit suicide, which I'd been living with since I was 13. And that was in the 1980s. And I woke up to bliss, the joy of being here. We have thousands and thousands of people who can say exactly the same thing. I'm home. I'm not split off in all these directions. I'm back home. And that cures addictions. It cures suicidal tendencies, depression. It can have the potential curing an immune deficiency issue that you're having, because if you don't have your soul and you're split, it's very difficult to have your full health at the same time. In shamanism, we might remove a spiritual blockage in your body that's creating a cancer, a knee problem, depression, anger. And we've had amazing results with cancer and other illnesses around that, chronic fatigue. There's also removing, if a spirit that never crossed over is decided to share your body with you, we move it out. And people are free to have a really good life again. So we've seen so much miraculous cures around illness and emotional issues. People also have to do their own work. And so it gets tricky, because in the world that we're living in now, people want an instant fix, like taking a pill. And although these shamanic methods are really very powerful, they demand that you do a lot of personal work on yourself, of how you treat yourself, of how you behave in the world, and, how you speak, how you think, how you dream. There's a lot to understand to really bring that full healing in. Where in shamanic cultures, we were brought up with learning how to speak so that we're bringing in the best, and how to think and how to dream. So we're creating a good dream for all of life, instead of the nightmare that we're going through. Although we've had thousands of amazing, miraculous experiences, and with my medicine for the earth work of being able to reverse pollution in water and in some bodies of water that got toxins dumped into them, we know it's possible. But it's almost like there's a pause for some of us, not all, but there's a pause on the miracles, because this is a time of doing a lot of personal work. I am seeing the same miracles, and I'm not. And and it's appropriate. Part of it is really appropriate. And I hope that's not
Yeah.
too confusing for people.
No, it's definitely not. It's also just showcasing, that there's so much that's possible, that there isn't hopelessness, and that there's really ways to engage differently with either the spiritual world or even within your own life. And you really can find a path forward that fits for you, and that also helps you live well, to live happy, to feel engaged. I think that's a lot of the message, with hearing some of these stories, that it is really possible.
What we need to hold on to right now is hope. We really do need to hold on to hope, no matter what happens, because everything that's happening right now is to take us to a different place. And I know what we feel around the losses around that. That's why I wrote Walking Through Darkness. And so it's why I wrote the book. Not every day is going to be a day of bliss, but once you get on this path, I cannot tell you how many of my students have stepped out of the drama of this collective and stepped into a different dimension of reality. They're living here, but they're living a different life than what's going on. And I hitchhike with some of them, so I know what their experience is. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to step out, start to grow some food, start to connect with nature again. all of a sudden your perception changes. And it's important to understand that our perception creates our reality.
I am so grateful that you have chosen to share so much insight with us. If people would like to learn more from you, is there somewhere in particular you would love people to go to get more information or connect with you further?
Yeah, I have a website, sandraingerman.com. And on there, I have so many free resources. I have really short articles on shamanism and shamanic healing, so you don't get overwhelmed reading them, but you get what I was trying to bring through today. There's all these YouTube videos listed you could watch. There's just so much. If you go to that page, it can take you also to other things that I do. I do a free newsletter every month called the Transmutation News. I have not missed a month since 2000, and we're in the year
Wow.
2024. So if you sign up on my email list, you just get it every month. If you don't want to sign up on my email list, it's posted on sandraingerman.com, and you can go there and read it. My only point of writing the newsletter is to keep you out of a place of despair and hopelessness, and give you some roadmap of how to not sit down in the dark and keep moving forward. That's really the key of what we really want to do right now.
I want to say again, really thank you so much for your generosity, for your wisdom, for sharing with us all and giving us that pathway through the darkness and as well through the light.
Yes. And don't give up, anybody. It's our destiny. We're here for a particular reason right now. And do your simple practices, and you're going to start to feel some of the magic happening. And you're going to start to tune into ways that you can simply move forward. And I bless everyone for all the brilliant work that you're doing. Even if you think you're not, you are. So thank you and blessings. And thank you, Amanda, for what you're doing in the world.
Thank you. So thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells, and can't wait to see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells. If you enjoyed this conversation, please give the podcast a 5-star rating wherever you listen. And don't forget to hit subscribe and follow along so you never miss a new episode.